Welcome to Inside ELAS, the podcast where we explore how AI is transforming the way we do literature reviews. I'm your host, Josien Boetje, and with me is ASReview founder and AI expert Rens van der Schoot. Each episode, we talk to researchers, students, and practitioners about their experiences using AI-assisted screening with ASReview. The highs, the hurdles, and everything in between. Whether you're deep into systematic reviews or just curious about how an algorithm ended up helping with your reading list, you're in the right place. So with us today are Laurens, who is a data scientist who works together with Bruno on the FORAS project. And Bruno is a psychologist with lots of experience doing literature reviews with and without ASReview. Am I correct?
Correct.
Yes. So we will talk all about the FORAS project, and you worked on that together.
Yep.
When did it all start?
It started back in October 2023, so it's been quite a while, and it's been quite an adventure since day one.
Yeah, and what does it stand for us? Or is it just a cool name?
We have different names now. We have a different version that Rens come up with, which is the framework for PTSD symptom trajectories. Yeah? Is that correct?
So it's really a content-focused project. So it was from group of psychologists, or what is the background?
Group of psychologists. We have Mirjam van Zelden, who is a professor here at Utrecht University, specializing in post-traumatic stress disorder. We have Rens, and we have a team of data scientists like Laurens, and also engineers like Peter. So we have a great team on board.
Yeah. And what was the whole reason to get started with this project?
So the whole reason was to test different approaches to find papers for systematic reviews. And we used ASReview for that, so through active learning. But we also did a lot of manual screening, and that's what was one of my goals, as to be the human in the project and screen papers manually. So it was a lot of work.
So your goal was to be human.
My goal was to be human and to test the machine and to tell machines that we're here to stay and that they're not going to overcome us anytime soon. So you do need a manual screeners or experts if you want to test whether the machine is doing things correctly. We also used large language models developed by one of our colleagues, Michael Brum. Yeah. And now we compile papers using all these different approaches, and the papers are about post-traumatic stress disorder, about the trajectories of PTSD symptoms, and we are doing a huge meta-analysis now to investigate the prevalence of PTSD symptom trajectories. And so next week we're going to present that. We're going to have an event here at Utrecht University, welcoming experts from all over the world to debate our findings. It's going to be very exciting.
Yeah. So you told us about different parts where the data came from, or the papers, and you had to handle all this data. But maybe you can tell a little bit more, where does this data come from?
Yeah.
Like most people are used to databases. So were these all database searches, or were there already some preliminary data?
Well, we started with a systematic review from Rens from 2015. That was the base of this project.
On the same topic.
Yeah. And the goal of this project, of the FORAS project, was to test a lot of different other approaches to collect papers that might be relevant for this project. And all of those different approaches generated their own data sets.
And then you search from 2015 onwards?
Yeah.
So it was like a supplement to an existing review.
To add on to the existing systematic review.
Yeah.
And what my task was for the FORAS project was to combine all of that data into one file. We called it the mother file, like the mothership of all those different data sets that are coming together. And we wanted to make one collection of all those papers. But what was also important for us is that we wanted to have an overview of where all those new papers came from which of those approaches.
Can you give an example of an approach?
There was one which just redid the search, the original search query, but with the new papers that have been published since then.
Yeah, just an update.
Yeah. There was one called snowballing, which was to use the references in papers use the outgoing and ingoing references.
From the relevant records from 2015.
Yeah, to see if there are relevant papers that cited that paper.
Yeah.
And there were also some approaches that used AI, machine learning, LLMs.
To search, to identify.
Yeah.
So not for screening, but for searching.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. And what we then did was we created a model file and we put all of those data sets on top of each other. But then, of course, there are duplicates in that data set because there are intersections between all those approaches. They might find the same papers.
Yeah.
And we don't want to have duplicates in the final data set because that will mean that someone who is screening, for instance, Bruno in this project, is going to screen a lot of duplicate papers.
Yeah.
But if we just do a normal deduplication, then we also lose information because we will not know which of those approaches found those duplicates.
Yes,
those
it could be that the LLM found an article, but also the snowball approach.
Yeah, exactly. So if we would just simply deduplicate those, then we would not know which of those approaches found those papers.
Yeah.
So what we did is we added new columns which showed the origin of these papers.
So one paper can have like 3 or 4 origins.
Yeah, exactly. They might be found by all of the approaches or only one. And that will also give us insight in which approaches are useful for finding certain types of papers.
I was already wondering about that. What approach was the most successful one in identifying new relevant records?
I don't.
From the newly added relevant records, what was their source?
That's a good question.
Because I know what to know as a researcher. Okay, I also want to update my review.
I'm not sure there's
what should I do?
Whether there's the best one. I would ask Hans for that.
Have we analyzed this?
Sure. And the main conclusion was that actually not one single method outperformed all of the other methods. So adding a new method via one of the new pipelines
would always add new papers. For example, we use the OpenAlex database, and then we vectorize the entire OpenAlex database, and then we search in that using Peter's pipeline. And do you still remember that paper that we did identify via that pipeline, but not with the traditional searches?
That's true. So my experience doing systematic reviews is there's always a hidden paper somewhere in a cave, buried deep down. Because at some point in the project, I thought, okay, we found all legible papers for the PTSD symptom trajectory review.
Yeah.
But then Hans decided to use other methods and Peter, and then there was always a new one coming up. And then I thought, this is not going to have an end. But it did. And now we have all the papers that we need from all these different search methods. And we also included other databases that were not included by Hans in his first systematic review. So include more databases. I think in the end, I was a very good human. I screened over...
Because you screened everything manually, right?
Manually, yes.
Can you explain your choice?
It wasn't a choice. It was part of the project, so somebody had to do it.
You already defined a human will screen all the papers. And I'm a
very proud human, so I decided that I should screen manually. But also was part of the project, right?
Yeah.
So how many papers?
12,000.
Yeah.
12,000, yeah.
Bruno, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Don't be. I'm proud of it. So I carry my ASReview shirt here and with the Neanderthal.
You're an active non-user during the FORAS project.
Yeah,
right?
I'm with the Neanderthal on the back because we're proud of feeling Neanderthals in this AI new world. So we're proud to be humans, and humans can do a lot. So humans can screen.
How long did it take you? You're a superhuman, of course.
No, a few months, I would say.
And if you would have to do this again, like, have we simulated this study? Like, how much time could Bruno have saved? Do we know this?
I don't dare to.
Because there were like 80 relevant records, right? In the end, from the 12,000.
From the 12,000, I think a bit more than that.
A little bit more.
Yeah.
How many were in the original search? How many?
Relevant records?
No, in total, the total data set?
4,500 or something.
And how many relevant?
38.
Okay, and you have like 12,000 and how many relevant?
So in the end, about 100.
Interesting. And when did the search start? Which date? Which year? 2000 or?
2000. Well, the initial one.
Yeah.
Oh, there was no initial date.
Yeah. So can we also see from this that the literature is expanding on this topic for sure?
It is expanding quite a lot.
Or have you found more because you used more approaches simultaneously?
We revisited Transfer systematic review in terms of inclusion criteria and exclusion criteria. So we did some changes there that will be better for the new approach, for the new systematic review.
Was that make it broader or smaller?
We're not necessarily broader or smaller, just a different approach.
Yeah.
For example, not considering clinical papers, only population-based studies, cohort studies. And then we ended up with with the new search about 100, plus what Rens had at first. Yeah.
But I think with the newly added databases, we are searching in a more inclusive way.
Exactly.
Correct.
Because we're now also including journals that are not indexed in the most popular databases.
But that are still peer-reviewed and high-quality
and journals
research.
in other languages than not English.
Yeah.
So we have papers from China written in Chinese. We have papers written in Korean.
And how did you identify these?
They were in one of the databases. Maybe the abstract is in English, but the rest of the paper is in the native language. So we have a couple of papers from China, a couple of papers from Korea. Which is more inclusive and more international, because there might be a lot of significant studies out there that are never published in English. So this is one of our goals, I think, doing this study, which is to remove language barriers.
Yeah.
And then there are several tools you can use to translate the papers into English. You can use the native speakers, which is very good. So we have Chinese nationals on board. And they prove to be very effective to translate their own language, but also Korean, because they can understand Korean very well. And I think it's one of the goals in the future is to include papers in other languages, include databases from a number of different countries and remove language as a barrier. Because we tend to think that only papers published in English are good, which is not the case.
Exactly. And also to get an idea of which databases are these. Like, I wouldn't know databases from China. What are they called? So I'm interested also, do the LLMs find these? Or did you know upfront that these were also relevant databases in your field?
If you extract data from the local databases from China...
How do you identify that that's a relevant database?
You have to reach out to locals, to professors. And
local professors to say, hey, where would
we didn't do that in FORAS because those international papers were probably indexed
in the English
with English abstracts.
Exactly. Yeah.
But for future projects, we've been considering that we could reach out to people from all over the world. Actually, I already did that. So I have a number of relevant databases from Iran, from Thailand, from Korea, from Japan. And maybe we can find a lot of relevant things there.
Yeah, that's so interesting.
Probably
also to compare, do the conclusions change? Because they're so culturally biased if they're only from...
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, not necessarily if they change. I would... So not yet another paper from a Western country or a US paper does not add so much. But one paper from Korea, maybe even with the same conclusions, adds more information because then you know that it is more, more general.
It could not change a conclusion, but you say, hey, the transfer across countries is better.
Exactly.
Yeah. And in our paper, now in FORAS, the paper that we are writing, so this huge meta-analysis, most papers come from the West, what we call the West or high-income countries, right? It's usually the United States and Britain and the Netherlands. Very few papers from the Global South. So if you include databases from the Global South, maybe it will help you to have a broader vision of the current state of the literature.
Yeah. Awesome.
So I think this is the next step, right? This is beyond FORAS. This could be FORAS 2.0.
inclusive FORAS, or even for other domains, right? Not
which
only in
means reach
psychology.
out to people from all over the world, create this huge data set in a lot of different languages.
Yeah, because now with the new ASReview, you can handle like whatever 100,000 or more. So
Yeah.
that's not a problem anymore. So we can expand our search beyond that databases we know.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so.
Hey, you've recently visited Brazil together.
I
Yeah,
visit
how was your
Brazil all the
experience?
time, but Laurens was his first time, and
Yeah.
he survived.
Yeah, I think Bruno and I from the start connected with our shared love of traveling. And when Bruno was starting to talk about going to Brazil with ASReview, I was very excited. And we went to Sao Paulo. We went there for 6 days, and we gave some presentations at Unifesp, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
The university.
On ASReview.
On ASReview, yeah.
How was that received?
Yeah.
Very well.
right?
Yeah. So this is the university where I got my PhD from. I
Yeah.
wouldn't accept anything but enthusiasm. So they were happy about it. And then Laurens and I and the team, we gave a workshop the next day at a different place,
Yeah.
at a huge hospital.
So also for practitioners.
And that was a very
Yeah.
nice workshop.
Students and
Some professors.
researchers and professors. Yeah, we installed.
So they do
ASReview.
also like literature reviews to support their
Yeah.
practice,
Yeah.
like evidence-informed practice.
So we installed ASReview on 40 laptops that day.
Wow,
So
Yeah.
nice. And it's also nice to see who are using it, right?
yeah, people were really excited. So that was nice to
So
see.
Laurens was going from one laptop to the other, like in a matter of minutes.
Yeah,
So at the same time, he was downloading ASReview in 15 different laptops.
yeah,
Downloading Python and then ASReview. So it was quite amazing. And then at the end, everybody had ASReview installed. It was a great workshop. I think it was my favorite. I've been giving workshops abroad about the ASReview, but that one was my favorite, I guess.
yeah. It's so nice to see that the participants are there to ask other questions, and that they're not forced to be there. They're really interested to learn
really
about
want
the
to be
software. Yeah.
Speaking about adventures,
Yeah.
I think it's time for ELAS to go on a new adventure,
All right.
because we have this fun tradition at the podcast. Like, you are the start of all the stickers, Laurens, so you know all about ELAS adventures. But maybe you've thought about some new adventure or hobby for ELAS.
Yeah, I've created a few of my own.
Which one?
I
Show them.
I created the panda one.
Yeah, I love that one.
Ah.
Yeah.
And,
cute.
Which was already featured in the first episode, but I created the Tron ELAS, which is probably my favorite. I also created a data science one, but that one is so new that there's no sticker of it yet.
Do we have some
he
Brazilian-inspired
owes
ELAS?
me.
Oh.
I made him promise to design a rock and roll Alice for me,
Yeah.
because I'm the rock and roll guy in the team, and he owes me that
Yeah, I'll create one with like a electric guitar,
electric guitar and like heavy metal style.
heavy metal.
Okay, then I'll be very proud. I'll make a T-shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it. Heavy metal ELAS.
Yeah, I think that would be quite nice.
Yeah.
I would like to take Ella's abroad more times. So this has been one of my goals here as an international ambassador for ASReview. I used to do a lot of systematic reviews manually.
Yeah.
I publish a lot of systematic reviews, and now I'm converted like that. Now Hans and the team finally they convinced me that I do have to use ASReview. These tools are really good.
So for a next FORAS-like project, you would use it.
Of course, I use it many times, and I want to teach everybody to use it. So I've been having these international meetings all the time. So people reach out to me asking for help. So I have meetings with people from all over the world. So it's been very nice.
Like the international help desk.
Yes, and thanks to Hans and the team, I had the opportunity to go to India and present ASReview there, and also South Africa very recently. They invited me to go. And I want to share firsthand that I got 2 letters of invitation, one from Thailand and one from Vietnam. And they wanted me to go there to present ASReview and give a workshop. And I was quite honored, because then it's new territory.
Yes, awesome. I think that brings us to the end of this episode of Inside ELAS. We have talked with Bruno and Laurens about more inclusive systematic reviews by expanding your search through various approaches, combining them. You might need some technical knowledge, but maybe also without.
Yeah,
can
it'll
manage,
be
right?
fine.
Just RIS files, and deduplicating won't be such a problem anymore in version 2.2, right? Who knows? Living reviews. But anyway, it can be more inclusive from the search onwards, but also later if you include records in different languages, that's not a problem anymore. We can translate it using natives. We can also use natives to identify new databases from the local community and thereby make more inclusive systematic reviews. So if you enjoyed this episode, share it with your fellow researchers, supervisors, or that one colleague who still screens everything manually. We see you.
Yo.
For more stories, updates, and insights, follow us and stay tuned. ELAS can't wait to expand its community, making its little digital heart positively pulsing in binary with joy.